What do you know? Another day, another Eagles coaching hire as the Birds continue to bring in some new faces. Meanwhile, a couple longtime leaders face a very tough decision. What is up, everybody? Welcome into A to Z Philly RB here. Drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. We continue to bring you the Eagles news and coverage all year long. We're heading into the offseason, and the Birds seem very active as they're bringing in a couple new faces. Meanwhile, other players on this team have some decisions to make. It's going to get very interesting over these next couple of weeks, and we will get into all of the news. But before we do that, a shout out to our sponsor of today's show, BetMGM. The biggest winner in the big game this year could be you, thanks to BetMGM. The king of sportsbooks is offering new customers a chance to score $158 in bonus bets instantly. That's right, instantly. Just download the BetMGM app right now and sign up with the bonus code ATOZPA200. Then place a $5 moneyline wager on the big game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of your wager's outcome. Don't miss the opportunity to cross the goal line on the money line as pro football's top teams clash for the championship. Bring the big game excitement to you with the king of sportsbooks. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 plus only, Pennsylvania only, new customer offer. All right. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, because obviously they had a tough ending to their season, right? Things were not going well, but they already hired coordinators, and I'm actually really impressed with how quick this team is moving. And one thing stands out above all. It's the fact that they are targeting experience, right? We should have saw the writing on the wall last year. We should have saw all the hints, right? All the little things that led up not only to, the collapse, but even just the beginning of the regular season. You go to the Super Bowl, and obviously Nick Sirianni is a staple and anchor, in his first couple years, but you had coordinators who really took the time to build out a system, a scheme, a philosophy. And it is, first off, not easy going from two coordinators who got you to a Super Bowl to two brand new coordinators, but definitely guys that don't really have the experience that much in being offensive and defensive coordinators. I know Desai was a coordinator, but, he really never stuck around in that position for long. And obviously Brian Johnson was just really a disciple. So at the end of the day, man, the Eagles had, a really tough time adapting, and we saw that they weren't ready for the moment, and they just did not believe in what they were doing. So what is their mindset right now? Let's start to target guys with experience. They go get Vic Fangio. They go out and get Kellen Moore. Together, they have like over 25, 30 years of experience. And now the Eagles are hiring former Seahawks defensive coordinator Clint Hurtt to be their new defensive line coach, or essentially wiping the floor and starting over and getting new guys in here, which I think is the right way to go. Obviously, they made the decision not to fire Sirianni, and there's a lot of questions posed out there. What could happen with Nick Sirianni? Is he going to crumble again? Is he just going to kind of be like the leader of both units, but not really call plays and get his feet in the mud? What do you think is going to happen? But here it says from Tom Pelissero, sweeping staff changes continue, who also are expected to hire one of Clint Hurtt's assistants from the Seahawks, Carl Scott, to coach DBs, who also has experience. And yeah, I like it. I'm not going to say I know too much about these guys, but after doing some research, Clint Hurtt has almost 18 years of experience as a coach. He has almost 10 years of experience in the NFL. And those are the things I like to hear, right? He's been a part of some pretty good defenses in Seattle. And here from Thomas Peterson, Coach Clint Hurtt worked with Vic Fangio for multiple years in Chicago, right? Built those connections, and those two have a relationship, which is good to hear. They had a pretty good defense in Chicago, as it says, tremendous success. Also, DL coach and assistant head coach he was for the Seattle Seahawks. Almost reminded me a little bit of Sean Desai with that title. And then it says DC experience. So one of the most experienced DL coaches, defensive line, that you will find in the NFL. And I'll tell you, man, this guy looks like he means business. He looks like no time to play around, no going out there and just messing around and, guys lollygagging, right? There were reports this year about how the Eagles didn't really practice that hard. No, you're going out there in the trenches and you're going to work. I could see this guy making Jalen Carter a monster, which he was, and then he kind of disappeared for the last 12 weeks of the year. Jordan Davis going to get into shape. I like this guy already. I really do. Brendan Deeg puts here on Twitter a quote from Clint Hurtt already, who made a statement about dropping pass rushers into coverage, because apparently the Seattle Seahawks did it a lot last year, so people were already questionable, like, are we going to see the likes of Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick dropping into coverage and things like that just didn't make any sense. And here's what he says, quote, I don't want to see guys going backwards, AKA we're going to be sending guys at the quarterback, not dropping them into coverage, especially if it doesn't make sense with some of your top pass rushers who lead the team in sacks. Made absolutely no sense. So I like this guy's head already. I like where he's trending, where they're going, and they have a lot of experience. They have relationships. They have experience working, Vic Fangio, Clint Hurtt. So I like that. I like that. And that's all we can really say right now until we see it more in action. But guys who have been here for a while that have a lot of experience with the Eagles could potentially ponder retirement. According to 97.5 The Fanatic, they had Jeff McClain on. Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce are both leaning towards retirement. Now, again, this comes from Jeff McClain. He's been up and down, so I'm not going to take it at face value. I'm not going to believe it 100%. We're just going to wait and hear what happens. But Jason Kelce did talk the other day, and he made some interesting quotes. Obviously, he's been there, showing off in Kansas City and doing his thing. He's been absolutely entertaining to watch. And unfortunately, we have to watch even more of it with the Swifty Bowl coming up, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But Jason Kelce talked about next year. This is what he had to say, quote, I really, really look forward to next year. I look forward to prove people wrong, especially with some of the recent hires in Sirianni. I don't know what's going to happen for me, but I do know I want to be involved in the organization. So based on everything we've heard, obviously I would expect Kelce to be some type of maybe advisor or coach or something with the Eagles. Maybe he's not ready for that right now, right? He's got a young daughter and, he wants to spend time with his family. But I just can't envision an Eagles future without some type of Jason Kelce presence in it. As I said before, he's an absolute legend. He is a stud. He is a staple of this entire Eagles organization all time. He's one of the best Eagles ever, in my opinion. And I would love to see him in some type of role with the Philadelphia Eagles. Honestly, I don't think he's going to come back. Now, Fletcher Cox, on the other hand, is only 33 years old. I could either see him coming back on yet another one-year deal or maybe going somewhere else to be a veteran. It would be weird seeing Fletch in another jersey, but if Howie Roseman is intent on getting younger, fresh blood in here, and he doesn't want to see Fletcher Cox back, maybe he might have to make, a tough decision. And it would suck, but I do understand it. So I think Fletch either comes back as a second unit lineman or, maybe just comes back to mentor guys like Jalen Carter and, Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis, or he ends up thinking that he can still play at a high level, goes somewhere else, maybe gets a little more money, and, we'll see what happens from there. But I do think Jason Kelce is probably leaning towards retirement. We saw the way he went off in that playoff game and the tears, and, it sucks. It sucks that he had to end that way, but I do hope he is in some type of role with the Philadelphia Eagles. And lastly, I want to talk about another coach who was recently eliminated, and I just want to make a quick statement because I saw this quote from Colin Cowherd on Dan Campbell, right? The Lions choked the 24-7 lead in the NFC Championship game. And Colin Cowherd said this, quote, he remained consistent to who he is. Those are the best coaches, flawed, but they remain consistent. He's real. I agree with that to an extent, but we have gotten to the point where analytics are screwing things up, right? Because you can go so far with data, right? It's supposed to help you be more efficient. But at some point, just like with, say, AI or technology, the common sense, the human brain has to kick in. Dan Campbell, instead of going for a game-tying field goal with 7 minutes and 32 seconds left in the NFC Championship, I think it was a 47-yarder, instead of tying up the game, decides to go for it on fourth down. Keep in mind, just a little while before, they went on a 4th and 2, didn't get it, right? If they had those 6 points, guess what? They win the game. They go to the Super Bowl. I have not seen a bad choke like that in a while, and I do feel for Lion fans, right? They wanted to finally get there, but this guy choked away the game. So, no, he should have had some sense, and I've seen this with Nick Sirianni at times. I get it. It's who he is, but you're in the NFC Championship, and you punt away a chance to tie it up with 7 minutes to go. It makes no sense, and, man, that was brutal. That was brutal. But I do agree with this from Dan Campbell. He says, this may have been our only shot. He might be right. And that's what the mentality should be. It's what it should have been for the Eagles after the Super Bowl. And now we're seeing how hard it truly is to get back to the biggest stage. It really, really is tough. And, people take that for granted. That's why I always say, like, if you get to the championship game or the big game, like, it's so tough to get there, man. It is so tough. So many things have to go right. And if one thing goes off the path, your entire season could be crushed. And, that's a good message to give your team, but you did blow that game. And I think coaches should really take this as a learning lesson. That sometimes you just got to be a little conservative, especially in this new day and age, and, do what's right. He did it in the first half before halftime. He kicked the field goal and they got the points. And if they had those 2 field goals, they probably win that game. But the 49ers are now going against the Chiefs, and it's going to be interesting, but a lot of people wanted to see the lines there. So those are my quick thoughts on that. Maybe other coaches like Nick Sirianni will take this as, like I said, a lesson and move forward and kind of learn from his mistakes. So we'll see how it all plays out, but give me all your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.